I love my online community. Today I was asked, what's the difference between a guerrilla marketing campaign that delivers 20% increase in sales, gets attention to 60 million people around the world, and one that results in a $2 million fine to the company who tried to run it? The difference is the planning and execution. There are rules you need to follow. There are best practices you need to subscribe to. They're not there because someone thought they looked good. They're there because you need to pay attention to them. And today we're going to discuss those best practices to keep you out of trouble and make sure that your guerrilla marketing campaign resonates with your audience, brings you great brand awareness, and increases your growth in sales. If that sounds like something interesting to you, if that sounds like something you might want to incorporate into your marketing plan, then stick around because we're going to talk about that because marketing matters. Hello, my name is Bill Arnold. I am president of Prevail Marketing, and every single day we deliver you a video on how to grow your business by doing sales and marketing better. We love when we can give you ideas, strategies, techniques that we've actually implemented for our clients. These are the times that we know that we're hitting home runs for you because we've seen the results, we've seen what it's taken, and this is one of those occasions. So, today I'm going to talk about that. And the reason this all came up, the reason we're talking about it is I have a client who we're contemplating doing a guerrilla market campaign for. And so we dusted off the playbook, took a look at it and see what has changed, what need to be changed, what did we learn from the last ones, and now we're ready to rock and roll. So come along for the ride. You might have fun. We're going to run through the best practices here, the guidelines you need to pay attention to, the things you need to consider. First off, know your audience. And I always tell people know their audience. I always say know who your targeted buyer personas are. It's imperative, it's important, it's critical. But as critical as it is, when you're on the big stage and you're exposing yourself to the world, you better have that locked in tight. Because if you don't, the outcome could be disastrous. So when implementing guerrilla marketing, make sure you know your target audience, whether or not what you're doing will resonate with them. And a lot of that has to do with brand continuity. I mean, if you're a Fortune 500 white collar, tie, suit coat, stay in the office type of company, you probably don't want to do something so avant-garde that breaks away from your brand. You don't. You need to do something that's consistent, like something a HubSpot could get away with far more than IBM. Yes, IBM is trying to change their motif over the years, and that's probably a bad example now. But HubSpot's always been that cool kid on the block, the one who's done things that are different. You expect something more from them. So you need to be with your brand continuity. You need to be that. Make sure you're able to deliver. I mean, I can't tell you. I've seen a number of agencies, fortunately not my own, who have tried to implement a guerrilla marketing campaign, but they were not able to carry it out. It may be a lot of things that went wrong. One was local laws. I know of an agency who had a really cool plan that they were going to implement, and they failed to get the necessary permits. So as soon as they started, it was shut down. It was an embarrassment, a black eye to them and to their client. So you need to check local laws, local ordinances. You need to make sure you got permission of the building, the people you're at. You need to make sure you do that kind of homework. You don't want it to be shut down. So make sure you're able to pull it off. Make sure you have enough people, enough backup, enough support staff to help you carry it out. But check those local laws and ordinances. You do not want to be fined. You do not want to be shut down. The biggest obstacle to doing anything for guerrilla marketing is be creative. Unfortunately, far too many people think, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I heard about this. This was done last year. I'll pull that out of the box. I'll change it a little bit, but it's going to be essentially the same thing. No, don't bother. First off, it's not going to, everyone have seen it already because it's going to be on their feeds if it was any good. And if it wasn't any good, you're just going to be known as the copycat. You didn't have any imagination, any creativity. You did something because you saw it done. I'll give you an example of creativity. I've used this before. I'm going to say it again. I have time on this video. We had a client. We're doing account-based marketing. And we knew through our research and study that the CEO he ruled the roost with an iron fist. Every single decision was made by him. Everything. I don't care how small and insignificant it seemed, always make it up to the CEO. And he had a huge, huge, huge ego. This guy was, he thought he was all that and more. Great. we can use all that to our advantage. Just have to know who we're dealing with, right? And you have to know the rules of the game. Then you can play the game. What we did for about $5,000, we bought all the snacks, all the water bottles, all the accoutrements that went into the vending machines and to their local cafeteria that was company owned. And we had it relabeled. The relabel was picture the CEO. And we had different messages on there. Somewhere, give this to the CEO. Or sometime, have you seen this man? He's wanted. And we did all sorts of different creative messages. And what happened, particularly when I said give the CEO, throughout the morning on the CEO's office door, what? Supposed to give this to you. What are you talking about? Water bottle has her name. It says give it to you. Has the URL written on it. Then a second one, a third one. Snacks, wrapped up. Candy bars, had our little thing around it. All coming up to him. Well, who could resist now clicking on that URL? Clicked on it, it says, hello, Mr. So-and-so. Glad you could join us. Your mission, should you decide to accept it, is hold a meeting with the people who are so creative that we managed to get your attention, break into your busy day, for you to contact us. We can do the same and get you in front of your clients. Interested? Here's a meeting link. And he filled it out. And they had the meeting. He won the client. Now, this is a little different than what many people think of guerrilla marketing, but that's what it was. So you have to be creative, be unique, be special. He loved this story. He loved it. It fed to his ego. Hey, man, that was a story he could tell for the rest of his life about how important he was. Yeah, be creative. Develop a budget. When we started the lesson, we had $5,000. That's it. What can we do for $5,000? Sometimes you do it for free. But make sure you have a budget. Make sure you plan ahead. Make sure you look at all the costs, permits, everything. Then you need to practice, practice, practice. And I mean that because I don't care how well you think you've got it figured out. Things will happen. People will miss their cue. Someone won't show up when they're supposed to. I guess that's missing your cue too. All that stuff will take place. So you need to make sure that you practice, practice, and practice. It may be your audience sees it for the first time, but it needs to be your 100th time of running it. It may look spontaneous, but it isn't. That's called acting. Evaluate risk and potentials. Okay, this goes back to the old adage, just because you can do it does not mean you should. I've seen a lot of people come up with a lot of crazy ideas that really are questionable in many respects. But they think, it's going to be so cool, we're going to get away with it. Make sure you understand what the consequences to your brand could be. The consequences to your customer's brand is going to be. Do you align with your brand values? If it all goes south, how will you be seen in the media, by the public, by your target audience? Risk and evaluate. Talk about it. I mean, I look down every single rabbit hole, and we look at this as possible. How will we react? What will we do? What is the outcome? What is the worst case, best case? So once you get all that done, you've got it set up, you've got the practice, you've got the permits, you've got everything. You are ready to rock and roll. Before you have that event, you know what you're going to do? You're going to contact your local media and local influencers. You're going to say, look, I cannot tell you what this is going to be, but if you show up at this place at this time, stay in the background, look like you're part of the group, but when something happens, be ready to pull out your camera. And you've got something sweet for your nightly news show. You got something sweet for your podcast. You have something sweet for your YouTube channel or your X or Instagram or wherever. Be ready, but stay in the background. Will they show up? Of course they'll show up. They're always looking for feel-good news. They're always looking for something that makes them, hey, we've got this. This happened today at the mall. And, oh, isn't this cool? They love to be there for that. And they will cooperate. And they'll be your first start of amplification, of getting that information spread much farther, much greater than just that local event can do. Focus on smaller groups. It's easy to control something. Don't try to go into a stadium and create something in front of the state, hold 60,000 people. Too many variables, too many things go wrong. Stick to venues where you've got a few hundred, no more than 1,000 people. It really isn't that number that's going to make the difference. It's how it's amplified afterwards. Okay? Also, you need to read the room. I mean, I've seen people go off and do off-color, highly controversial, highly political things in a group that would be opposed to it. So read the room. Make sure you're going to put the event on where somebody will appreciate it. Because the worst thing could happen, if in the middle of the event people try to shut you down because they're offended by it, the worst thing can happen if people boo you out. No, you want them to support you, love you, applaud you. So make sure you read the room and know you're going to a venue that's actually going to appreciate you. Have a defined objective. What does success look like? I always tell people success looks like. You have to know what the outcomes are going to be. Guerrilla marketing is no different. I've seen people failed to have a call to action at the end. What do you want these people to do at the end of it? Is it just sharing on social media? Do you want them to buy something? You need to have that call to action well defined and a way for them to implement it. Be flexible. I guarantee you, you may go out there that day and it's raining. So you're going to have to adjust and modify and morph. Be prepared to do that. That's why you run the event 100 times. So morphing is easy. That means you have to have a person in charge, someone everyone can look to say, what do we do now? What happens because of X? How do we handle this? And make sure you have people who are the second tier, whose job it is to make sure everybody, and they've got to select people. You need to tell these 10 people. You need to tell these 10 people. And you need to tell those 10 people. That's your assigned duty. So you have a communication channel well in place that people, and that doesn't mean just send a text because people may not read it. This is verbal communication. Hey, we changed. This is what you need to do now. Very important. Here's one of this right here is maybe the difference between 6,000, 60,000, or 60 million people knowing about your event. Post-event opportunities. Plan ahead how you're going to capitalize on the event you're creating. First off, how are you going to engage your bystanders? Well, yes, you want them to share it on social media. Great. How are you going to encourage that? Well, one of the things we've done in the past is we've used stickers, hats, t-shirts that says, I was there, and the event emboldened below it. And I survived, or things of that nature. You give them out. And you know what they're going to do with those pictures, those t-shirts? They're going to put them on, take a picture, and share the story. Because everybody loves something free. Everybody loves something free. We all do. So give them a t-shirt and a way to share their story in a natural way. I showed up at this event and all I got was this t-shirt. And here's what happened. You wouldn't believe. It was unbelievable. That's the kind of stuff you want to get. Brand advocates. You have brand advocates, right? You better. If you don't, you got a problem. So prepare your brand advocates. Tell your brand advocate, keep them in the loop sufficiently. Says, look, on this date at this time, we are going to republish and reshare and repost an event that happened. We need you to spread the word, to share across your social reach. Encourage people to repost and comment. We need you to become our brand advocates. Direct them. Finally, two other things. I know you want a viral event. We all want a viral event. Can I guarantee you, follow all these things, you're going to get a viral event? No. Nobody can guarantee it. Nobody knows what's going to flip the switch. We all think we do. We all want to believe we do. But nobody knows. It's pretty much hit or miss. You come up with a great idea, you execute it properly, you do all these other things I talk about, and then you hold your breath and wait. You're going to know pretty instantaneously how the reaction is. And you can do a lot to cultivate and spread that. But the idea is, don't try to say, I am going to create a viral event. That's my job. I'm going to go do that. Don't promise that, and don't try to do that. Because if you do, that's when you start cutting corners. That's when you start pushing the edges a little too much, because your objective is not just to get brand awareness. You want to go viral. No. You want brand awareness. You want sales. But you do not want to try to go viral. If it happens, great. And the best way of it happening are all of these things I'm talking about. There's one final thing you need to do. And I mentioned this at the very top. I'm going to go back, measure, and adapt. Remember I said we're looking at doing a guerrilla marketing campaign for a client? And what the first thing we do, we pulled out all our notes, what our best practices were, the things we learned from our last event, said what did we learn and how do we need to adapt? Now, it's not the same campaign by any stretch, but there are lessons you can pull from one to another that give you insights on how to do it better every single time. So if you've done it more than once, look at your metrics. Look at your key metrics. Look at such as brand awareness, engagement, conversions. These are things you ought to be looking at. Did we reach our goal? Look at those KPIs. What's the website traffic? How many is the social media mentions? Were there sales? What's the increase in brand sentiment? And what share of voice did we get from the community, from the industry by doing this? These are things you need to look at and measure and adjust and adapt. Guerrilla marketing is one of the most fun things you can do. Absolutely. But if you don't follow these best practices, it may not be the results you're hoping for. You may be remembered, but not in the way you want to be. So, hope you found this valuable. Please like, please subscribe, please follow, and please go visit us, prevailmarketing.com. We'd love to have you come there and check us out. If you need any help, hey, we don't monkey around. We're here to help you.